harmony. I think we're being set up for something very serious and very big by some very powerful secret societies that very well could have extraterrestrial or otherworld intelligence guiding it. All over the world, we have accepted the authority as truth rather than truth as the authority.
All right, truth seekers, what's going on? It is Monday, and I hope you had a tremendous weekend, especially with all that goes on. And if you are in Dallas, then you know what I'm talking about. From there, if you're not, don't worry about it. But we got a great show for you tonight. We're going to get into a few things. And the question of that is, what if everything you thought about being free was an illusion, you know? And tonight, we're going to talk about mind control. We're going to talk about hidden rulers. And then we're going to also talk about the symbols that exposes those things as well. So I hope that you're ready to really get into a few things, because how these hidden forces and it could be influencing our politics, they could be influencing a whole lot of different areas in entertainment and even personal beliefs. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't pay a close attention to, but we're going to get into it really deep tonight as we get started down that rabbit hole. And so I'm excited for that. We're going to talk about Monarch Programming. If you haven't heard about it, you definitely want to check it out, because it does have a connection to the MK Ultra, if you think about it. But just a little quick background: Monarch Programming is believed to be a continuation of the CIA's MK Ultra mind control experiment, and is happening in real time. And they use a lot of things when it comes down to mind control. They use techniques like drugs, hypnosis, electroshock therapy. You know, electroshock therapy is one of the things. They also use one of the things that we're going to dive into tonight, which is trauma-based conditioning. Now, if you're not familiar with that, you will be by the time the night is over. So definitely check out that as well. Before we get started, I want to give a major shout out to the Selena Anderson. Y'all give her a shout out. She is one of the first persons that, added to my birthday wish foundation, or whatever I want to call it. If you want to help with that birthday wish, my big 55 birthday on March 10th, there is a link in the description. And when you click it, there's a video and some things that'll talk about it as well, only if that's something that you want to do. Real quickly, Wednesday, for those of you who are going to be here Wednesday live with us, we're going to have Michael Carter is going to be here with us. Reverend Michael Carter, also the author of Alien Scriptures, also been on Ancient Aliens, a lot of different TV shows, but he's going to talk about his reptilian experience. Okay, so make sure you get there, because as you know, we're going deep and hard on that, and pretty much. And then also the show is brought to us by Fresh Mouth Club, which we are all a part of that. And in the website you can go to, which is our affiliate, is nanosilverhealth.com. This is where you're going to find nanosilver toothpaste, the hydrogen water bottles, and all of those things. And so definitely check that out so you can do that. So anyway, hope a lot of you are here tonight. Moderators, I've added a couple of more, so we'll be getting into that. So back to what I want to talk about with this show. One of the goals of this Monarch programming, mind control, was to create what they call programmable individuals who can be controlled by their handlers. And I know you might be saying handlers. Yeah, we're talking about handlers. Now, one of the things that makes this kind of unique is that this programming not only goes on now, but has been going on quite some time, and could have been where a lot of us probably have been programmed as a youth and didn't even know it. One of the other things is that we'll talk about the extreme trauma. Now, this is often used in childhood, and this is something we're going to get into, and it's used to fracture the mind into what they call multiple personalities. We're going to talk about the alter of that tonight as we get into it, or dissociative identity disorder. They call it DID. One of the things that they knew that trauma can include, not so much include, but what trauma does is a highly impact on a person as they begin to grow up into a young adult. But that trauma include abuse, confinement, you're talking sensory overload, deprived, rituals, all kinds of stuff that goes out there. When they think about fracturing the mind or the alter, this is fracturing personalities, can be trained, programmed for specific roles. And again, we're going to get into that mind control of that as well. And then one of the things that's important is that the theory suggests that shadow organizations, secret societies, as well as intelligence agencies and key figures through this Monarch programming. And then we get all the way back down to the reptilian agenda. So we're going to go deep into that. One of the things that you can think about the programming, it is used today to manipulate politics. We're talking about the entertainment. We're talking about media. We're talking about corporate industries as well. And these handlers are very essential to what they do. They are programming people and they're conditioning the victims is what we want to call it. So when we get back into what I call the trauma-based mind control, then you have the elite control programming. So we're going to talk about each one of those. Then that's just going to lead us down to what's going on. And so before I get started, my question to you, have you ever felt like there is a hidden force shaping the world? And if you have, you're not alone, and you're right. You're actually right. But as we go forward with truth versus authority, the truth is right here. And so this is something that we're going to be talking about. Now, there are 4 types of Monarch programming that I'm going to discuss with you tonight. One is called the alpha programming. Now, this is what we would consider just general programming when you get down to it. It will be what we consist as the foundation programming that controls the memory or personality and obedience, right? Because this is all what it's based on. Now, I want you to be careful tonight. Make sure there's no kids watching, because as we go further on this show, we're not talking about rated X things. PG things. And when we start talking about children mind control and where it began, I'd rather you not have the kids hearing what I'm saying about that tonight. They also use enhanced intelligence, physical performance, and loyalty. And this is all embedded in today's society. And yes, for somewhere along the way, we're going to give you some examples. I'll give you some examples of that. And if some of you probably already know what I'm talking about when it exists there as well. They also create what I would call obedient slaves for espionage and politics or entertainment. You think there's not entertainment mind control slaves that are out there in the public? Yes, absolutely. And how do we know? I know for a fact, and then I will definitely share with you my personal opinions on that, and so that you then can gather your own. There's things known as kittens or sex kidding programming, and these are used to create what they call highly sex individuals when you get down with that. And so that is something that you want to think about when you get into these things. This is common in Hollywood. It's common in the music industry, the modeling world. Well, we know that's been common now when you start thinking about all the puffy stuff, the tranquilizers, and all these things that was used to create the mentality or the slave mentality of some of these people. So it's in real time. You think he just made this stuff up? No, it's a recipe that was given and gotten probably from some of these other people or hidden agenda or elites or whatever you want to call it. If you want to get into the symbol sides, we're talking about leopard print clothing, feline references, the Marilyn Monroe archetype. There's a lot of people that took on her personality years ago because of programming. And as you know, what her whole thing was, if you really know her inside story, then she was part of one of those programming when things had happened. Now, when you think about the purpose of this is used again for elite entertainment. There's things called honey traps out there and blackmail operation. This stuff goes really deep when you think about it. And when it moves into the military, now we're talking about military intelligence. We're talking about assassins. We're talking about the Greek word delta. If people don't really know the meaning of delta, is the Greek word, but delta is the programming for what I will say the assassins out there, or whatever you want to do, if that's what you want to look into. I'm being really careful, make sure we're monitored, because we're going to do a lot of this stuff in our private area as well. But look it up. There's not a Delta program out there that these people are not programmed to go out there and execute unaliving people and things. That is a program, and you got to have Pacific individuals based on their consciousness and all of the way how they see the world that will go out and carry out an order, because it's an order that they would go out and do this, and without having any remorse or conscious thoughts behind, doing those things. Oftentimes, the victors are trained to take out people without hesitation and follow these orders blindly. And then if you don't think, once again, this is not happening in today's time, absolutely. And if we want to look back and people talk about the attempt, or not the attempt, or the Kennedy assassination and all those things that happened here in Dallas, back early on, and they talk about MK Ultra being behind it, then you think the techniques are not refined, the techniques are not in better service now? Absolutely they are. And another thing that you want to look for in the symbols, and of course, me being AKA the Symbolizer is going to teach you stuff like this, will be the black triangle. We're talking about, again, the Greek letter for Delta, and there's also assassin type related tattoos that's out there as well. So we're going to be covering a lot of this, once again, going on this journey as each show progresses, as we begin to go down this. So this should be one of the most shareable places. And so I would hope that we all come together as a unit, and you get the word out and share my channel and the content as everything else as well. I'll take a look in the chat here shortly. Now, there's examples. The examples are rumored to be linked to, if you all remember the movie, The Manchurian Candidates. You're talking about some of this mass shooting things or COVID operations. All of this stuff is supposedly linked to some type of mind control or some type of agenda. Now, again, we could take this on an elite level, but it's going to take you all the way back up to what they call the 13 elite bloodlines, and the bloodlines take you all the way back to the Illuminati, and take you all the way back to the secret societies, which takes you all the way back and back to reptilian stuff. This stuff is all connected, and I think it's hard for some people to think, because of cognitive dissonance, that they cannot function to know that there are some disturbing truths out there, and it really is, especially when you have these things focused on psychic abilities and remote influences. These people got this stuff down, of course, to a science, and knowing humans and knowing the human mind, that this is probably the perfect weapon to implement in any type of system if you want to gain control. And when they do this, they're going to use trained individuals with telepathic espionage, mind to mind control. And you remember that I have been studying the CIA mind thing. I'm not going to call it what it is out loud, but I was telling some of you to get the program at the time, that when I had it up on a website, so that we can develop mind-to-mind conversations. And this stuff actually works, and now when I do my affirmation, and starts with, I'm more than my physical body, I'm more than physical matter, I can perceive that more than the physical world. In this exercises, I like to experience, to know, to control, to you. So I go through this affirmation before I go into my meditative state, and have grown immensely with knowledge, have grown immensely with connectivity. So, and I'm just a minor student at this. Imagine having advanced knowledge of mind control that some of these people have, or the handlers that they have. Now, we do know that this stuff is often tied to a cult, or a ritual, elements within secret societies. And make no mistake about it, it's not something we should ignore. These people have that knowledge, and there's things that, or what we would call esoteric knowledge. And as I have access and information, again, this is one of the challenges that we will have putting it out here on this air. But just so that you know, even this Friday, we're going to have a open live stream, and then we're going to go into the private area to continue and talk about some things that we can't talk about in the open, because it is time to share some of those things. And so if you have not had an opportunity, there's a link in the description that you can get access to the Patreon that would allow you to get access to that. Let's now talk about one of the things that I talked about, which would be Kittens. Okay, SEX Kittens. Kittens is what it's called. This is the beta programming. This is the basic programming that the Monarch program uses when they do this. Now, this is the ones that they're going to use to get those people that will be out at the Epstein Islands, and the stuff that Puffy probably was access to, and even in the ultra wealthy people may have access to this. And this is the basic beta programming. Now, it's really important that we can touch on it a little bit, but this goes all the way back to an upbringing. This goes all the way back to how a person was treated when they was kids. And they do pick these type people from parents, especially these these men that do these crazy things to their children. And this stuff is embedded there. Now, and we'll get deeper into how they choose this. The other part, when we're talking about the Delta, again, this is military. And if you go back looking up to the Greek words, you're going to find that this is one of the things that they program these people, because again, it takes mind control. But it don't just start when they enter the military. These people are already chosen, picked, groomed, everything from when they were small children, just as much as you and I probably had programming through trauma-based programming. We'll probably touch on that tonight. And I'll probably bring up a few things that all of us will probably remember, like, whoa, and it was going on, because these people don't play no short-term game that most of us is talking about. When they get into this theta programming, now we're talking psychic assassins and stuff that they program out there. And these are one of the things. I'm using a few words tonight that I'm going to see if we get nicked for it. Then I'll know never to say it again, but if we okay, because this is going to be some terminology that we will use. Let's talk about some of the real world examples when we're talking about celebrities, signs of control, right? Celebrities that has this monarch control, and it's probably sitting out there in plain sight. I'm gonna take, let me see, Britney Spears, for example. Multiple public breakdowns, shave head incident. Where did we see the shave head incident in a different limelight? You saw it with Cassie, with Puff Daddy. Y'all remember, right? I'm not just making this stuff up. And you've seen it in other cases as well. And this is like the handlers like to figure this as controlling these people. Do you think Cassie woke up and said, oh, I'm just going to shave my head, being as beautiful as she is, and all of that, saying, I just want to walk around with a shaved head? Heck no. Start watching some of these things. In fact, I'm watching the downfall, and I really don't want to promote, but I'm watching the downfall of Diddy, and I'm still on the second, just got into the second episode, and I'm already like, dang, or whatever. Think about Kanye West, his references to being cloned. He has these certain outbursts. He showed every bit of dissociation and hospitalization in his profile. You know, he just completely got away from everybody. This is one of the techniques that is being used to make sure that dissociation happens. They have to in order to control. You have to be separated or dissociated from not just reality, but from other interference. If you go back, and these are just my personal perceptions, all right? If you want to go about Miley Cyrus, the transformation from the Disney star to hypersexualized performer. Now, this came from what we just talked about, the beta programming. They create this. They know who's going to be the stars. They know who's going to be. And, you know, the odd thing about this, when you start thinking about the Monarch program, it's the parents, man. The parents often give these children up for this in return for whatever they asking for. Go back to all of these rituals and all of this stuff. It is everywhere in all the books that the firstborn was always a sacrifice of things, and how deeply that this stuff go. And if that's something we're going to cover, we're going to talk about it as we continue truth versus authority, because there's three things that I'm going to be hint on. I'm going to hit on the monarch, the mind control, because I've been talking about, you know, authority, truth is this, and then authority is those bad authorities. And then as I start evolving, authority is also the mind. And sometimes our mind is taking over the truth because they have programmed it. And I know the last time I said it, some people was posting comments, oh, why would you say that in the mind? I know what I'm thinking, that you are the very first person that they go after, because I'm not saying that. But when it's done and it's done thoroughly, we just don't know. We don't know. But once we're able to recognize the stuff, then you can unprogram yourself over time. And that's a term that they use called the freedom training. Oh, I won't even get into that on live. We got to go behind the scene to talk about that, and then the expectancy of being 30 years old and what happens at this point. So what about Lady Gaga? You know, go back to that frequency reference dissociations, her altars, and also her performances, all been a symbol of a symbolism in Monarch performances. Now, when we talk about altars, let me give you a back thing about this so that you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. When they do mind programming, I know I don't want to go this deep with y'all, but I've been called to do it now, okay? And being on TV, 11 different shows, knowing all these people, talking to government people yesterday, you know, in a lot of conversations, I'm like, man, and I just formally ask them, how can I come out with this stuff without, and you just don't know. So when you're talking about altars, when they program altars, I want you to know there's two different altars when they, this Illuminati reptilian mind control programming. There's two altars. One is going to be a altar that's separated. So picture is being in the back of your mind. This is a totally different personality. It's a total different programming. Usually it's going to be activated by some type of event, symbols, words, or something, and then it moves to the front. That personality moves front. You've probably seen it. I started with somebody y'all know, somebody everybody knows, that was doing a speech, and I saw the alter personality switch. I only told 3 or 4 people in my inner circle. And if you one of them that's in here tonight, you know who I'm talking about. And when you see the alter personality, the eyes are going to bat. It's going to, because it's switching. And you've probably seen people do this, right? Then they have what they call an altered fragmenting. Fragmenting alter personalities are done for a specific reason. We're going to just touch on this a little bit. And what this programming is so imagine something sitting here, but it's only trained and was put there for a purpose, and a simple purpose, not simple purpose, but one thing is going to activate it. So for example, when we get back to an alter programming, a lot of us watched a lot of stuff as kids. You're talking about the Wizard of Oz. That was a lot of altered programming in that. We're going to talk about that in one of the shows, all of the different symbolism and everything else. But little did a lot of us know, and even parents, as we're having our children watch certain things, that it is set there. When you think about this Illuminati's, and when you think about secret societies, the reptilian, they played a long game. See, we only think about, oh, what they're doing today and yesterday. When they do these things, they may plan something 30 or 40 years. And for example, if you think that there's not, go to eBay. I just found, and it's really expensive, and maybe we need to do it as a collective or whatever. There's a game, there's some cards called the Illuminati that somebody made in 1994. 1994 was when this thing was designed. And they have cards of the Twin Towers going down. They have cards of things that already have, I'm not making this up, you can see it. They got cards of events that already done happened, was predicted to happen long before. So that does take us in gematria that I told you that I'm studying, all of these different things. But this stuff is it. There's Sammy said a card deck is legit. I want to buy it. They got some people selling parts of it. There's a $400 piece of it. Maybe somebody can donate it to the show and we can use it. If you are that person, I love you. I love it. Well, I love you anyway. But man, I'm telling you, it is something that we need to look at it. Anyway, real quickly. So when you think about the programming that they put into us children back in the day, because they know that 30 years from now that they're going to plan an event, they already have the programming. And so when things start flashing on TV, it activate the stuff that was planted in some of us when we were children. And I'm not saying that I hadn't had it done. The key to it is if you're over 30 years old, all right, let me just point this out. The key to it, if you're over 30 years old, this is where your mind can grow enough to block it. It can begin to block it. This is why I'm just saying, look up the term when they say, we're going to get you off the freedom train. Any of you look that up, you'll know what I'm talking about and why I'm being real cautious, is where that timeline for people within those organizations come to get off the train, okay? But once you get older, especially like where we are now, and some of us call it being awake or awaken. I'm calling it luminous for our organization or not organization, for our community and truth seekers. But these things happen. So we'll cover that in weeks to come. Another part is you want to talk about Bill and Hillary. These were deep CIA connections, ties to MK Ultra. Remember, they was talking about the whistleblowers. But if you go back to Clinton and go back to the bloodlines of these top 13 Illuminati bloodlines, he's related to some of those. So this thing runs so deep. And again, I think we might start each bloodline coming up in weeks to come. So that's something that we will do. We can talk about President Obama, which the rumors was raised in intelligence linked figures. A lot of these things was chosen as they go over to the Bilderberg groups. He was over there. And if you go back and look at all of the previous years in the Bilderberg groups, they have a list of some attendees, not all of them. And it really tells you the future, because a few years back, OpenAI was at the Bilderberg group before ChatGPT became out there crazy. And it's one of those things. The game isn't 30 to 40 years, more like 250. You got that right, Jen. And that's one of our top researchers. And so, yeah, they've been playing this game, and it goes all the way back. And this is why I'm telling people that why we talk about a lot of reptilian stuff here will probably be the destination for it. So y'all spread the word if they want to, and we're going to have more people here. And in fact, I have something for you, for the audience. If any of you on social media and you seeing people talking about reptilians or different stuff, start emailing me at contact@whythebigsecret.com, those links. Just send me the links or find a way we can contact these people, because it is real stuff. If you start talking about the last president before the one we have now, man, he had a lot of dissociation moments, and there was a lot of whispering behind the scenes about control. Again, Marilyn Monroe was a prototype to the beta program and control by the elites. We will talk about beta. Maybe I'll put that down maybe this Friday on the second half after show, the beta programming, because we cannot say some of that things on the air at all, period. Okay. But it is something for you to know if you got children or different things out there, because this stuff is one of the things. And the other part about it, one of my favorite persons is Eminem, when he was talking about a narrative of a clone. When you talk about sudden behavioral shift, they talked about that with Jamie Foxx for a while, right? And sometimes we're like, how they would do it. You cannot tell me that Beyonce, when she starts talking in public about her alter ego, the other alter, Sasha Fierce, appearing to switch perspectives and personalities right on stage. Now, you think this is just talent? People, please, you better wake up. You think it's just talent that, I can. Now, I jokingly will tell people that when I was in a relationship, I will tell my this is a long time ago. And I would get the call and she's all sexy. She'd be like, this is the ex-wife. And she was like, and I would say, well, baby, I'll be there in a little bit. Who do you want? Do you want Roderick or do you want Roderick? Roderick is a whole different dude in the bedroom, right? So if you want Roderick, I'm gonna be kind and sensuous and all of this stuff. But when you want Roderick, we're coming in. We're coming in. So that was just my personal, but when you see it in really action, like Sasha Fierce and all of this stuff, and that was our pet talk, right? But there are some of these people have true alter personalities and things that are truly done, okay, and they really do, okay. So you have to really think about it. Politicians, let's go into the possible monarch ties when you want to talk about that. We're going to start with the entertainment industry figures. We'll get into that. But let me first tell you why they chose monarch. And you see it in real time. So if you think about the word monarch right now, where have you seen that at right now? Okay, I'm glad you asked. King Kong, Godzilla, all of these are biogenetic stuff. Monarch Program was tied to the ancient monsters who were the gods. People, you think they're making this stuff up when they're using those dragons and the ancient gods who ruled the world before humans, and now that's the whole theory of the monarch. But the monarch is because when scientists found out, this is something for you to know. When scientists found out that the monarch butterfly was the creature that could only pass down information through genetics, okay? In other words, if a monarch was born in Texas and they moved it over to Chicago, and when those new baby was born, they usually fly back to the birth origin. Well, they figured out that the monarchs will fly back to Texas. And how would they have known that when they're in Chicago? Because, okay, you might say, okay, it's like bird migration. No, they would take some of the monarchs and put them in California that was born in California. They would raise them and then they would move them to Chicago. All of a sudden, all the ones that was born in Chicago, in Texas, flew back to Texas. The ones in Chicago, every last one of them went back to California because it was in the genetics. The DNA was the sequence program. And when they found that out, this is when, and I'm just going to touch on it because we're going to do this in another show. This is when the Illuminati start going back into, I know I'm going to get in and get some of your heads here, but it goes back into the Indian tribes, all of the Cherokees and all of this. This is why they started getting those people to cross with, because they wanted to harness the power of that spiritual discernment that was being passed down through generations to generation of how to contact the spirits until they became agricultures, and then that changed. We'll get into that as another conversation. But the other part, we're talking about industry figures, symbolisms and triggers. And again, you see the monarch butterfly imagery everywhere. You see it when they do the half and half, the one eye. They're doing it. The monarch represent transformation through trauma. You see it in fashion, music videos, tattoos, mind control victims. They're all over the place using this. You see celebrities wearing the monarch symbols that can indicate programming. Just take a look at it. Take a look at them with the butterflies everywhere. Or when you start thinking about the trauma base, You're talking about the white rabbit, especially when we're talking about the kids. That's why you saw in the Matrix that Neo was focused on the white rabbit. That was a Monarch programming. It was just an example of the whoever created that giving us the signal, but it goes all the way back to the beta, which we will talk about that when we get in. I hope y'all getting some out of this conversation tonight. If you are, we are a community program show, and so if you would like to support the show, you can do that via Cash App, and I'll be most appreciative if you so choose to do that. Let me see if I can put that on the screen at the bottom there. There we go. So we have PayPal too as well. But if you find value in the show, please let me know, because I want you to also start sharing this content. So let's talk about Freemason lodges. We're talking about Elite Mansion music videos. Like I said before, you're going to see a lot of the Monarch symbolism in that, and pretty much when it goes there. Also, the programmer on the Monarch symbolism, represent duality. We're talking light, dark consciousness, subconsciousness, which is a key element to mind control. It's almost like the yin yang. It's the polarity. It's almost like the universal natural laws, because as much as they're bad, there's as much as there's good, and it balances itself out. We're never probably gonna have a lot of good versus a lot, less bad, or a lot of bad versus less good. Although we may get focused on the bad stuff, there are still a lot of good things that the universe is balancing that it has to balance this world out. So back to the music industry, we're talking about performers that often film themselves standing on checkerboard floors. Okay, that's a duality symbolism of Monarch programming. Don't let me get into the dolls that symbolize fragment personalities in these Monarch victims. They've done that a lot when it comes down to it. Common references would be in celebrity photos, movies, and again, a lot of their performances. When you think about Nicki Minaj's alter ego, Roman and Barbie, persona that reflects this theme that she has. And you think they don't program our future icons that they want to put out there? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And they already had these people pre-programmed long before, but they was trauma-based. So most oftentimes, and you probably hear this in a lot of celebrities, that they went through a lot of trauma in their lives. And in fact, there was one guy on social media. He was I don't know, was a rapper or something. He was talking about his introduction, his price that he had to pay. And you've probably seen it. He said he had to give up his firstborn. And he's not, as soon as he said it, I was like, whoa. But what also he said with his consciousness, which is those are the people that they pick that have imperishable, whatever the word I'm looking for, the consciousness that is just bad. I need to get some water. But those people, he said, oh, it's just, I can make another kid, right? This is what he said. I can make another kid. He didn't care about the cost or the price of doing that. And let me tell you something. There's a lot of wealthy people, non-wealthy people that they make sure that the parents were on drugs deliberately, or catch them up to where they got to sign over their kids, and then they disappear into the system. This thing is big, and these things are really big. Another thing that a lot of you probably paid attention to would be in movies. It's called the shattered glass. This is part of Monarch programming. This represents the breaking of the victim's core. Oftentimes, if you start learning to look at the dark mirrors, that's also our access into another realm, and that's a whole nother show. But breaking the glass is symbolism of all of this stuff. In fact, I remember one time me and my brother was playing and we broke a mirror, and y'all probably seen the superstition of that. My dad put all of that stuff together in a bag. We drove all the way to the Trinity River and he threw it in the river. He was talking about the whole superstition of glass breaking or mirrors breaking, all of this stuff. And I thought that was like as a kid, like, whoa, it was trauma. It was fear-based trauma, right? And so all of these things can go from there. If you think about the movies like Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, you're talking about The Black Swan. All of these stuff had stuff in there when you come up talking about checkerboards, duality, doll images, altar, and dissociation. Again, the mirrors, the glass mirror, the mind splitting is what that kind of goes to. This stuff is deep when it gets down to this. So my question for all of you, have you noticed these symbols in media? Put it in the chat if you notice some of these symbols as we continue down this rabbit hole. Also, which celebrity public figures do you think that may be under a monarch control? Put it in the chat. Let's put it on the screen so we can all kind of get together on this. So once again, let's go back to the first question was, have you noticed any of these symbols in media? That's the first question I want you to kind of answer. And then also, which one of the celebrity public figures do you think might be under the monarch control, or we call mind control? So let me look over here. Somebody says sports athletes, hand tucked in the jacket. Yeah. Oh, yeah. With the little hand down there. So drop a comment and let's decode these hidden messages together. I think it's something that we can do together as individuals and take ourselves down the rabbit hole together. I mean, why not? Let's do this thing because they're been hidden behind these symbols for quite some times, and they've been hidden behind the power, the secrecy, and I think it's far too long. And where does it come? It comes down to the reptilian stuff. So let's go in a little bit about reptilian stuff a little bit. Let's go over the reptilian theory just a little bit to explain the core belief of this. Now, we do know that these are non-human forces, often described as reptilian. And as far as David Icke concerned, a lot of these people, they're controlling humanity through mind control, genetic manipulation, and occult practices. And again, we can talk about the serpent, and you go back to all the rituals, and you go back to, we talked about in one of the last videos. You haven't seen it, go back and check it out. That video was about Adam or scaly skin, or all the, stuff that's out there in these pictures, and which, we're going to be starting traveling and go to some of these places. But once again, we're talking about the reptilian manipulation. Now, make no mistake about it. This manipulation takes us all back to energy harvesting, and that is a whole nother conversation. And I know we got a lot to talk about. I can't do it all today, but we're talking about energy harvesting. This is why they create all of this negative energy and all of these things. So they feed off the energy. Now, I would say a long time ago, I would probably been like, well, maybe not. But when I, once again, started doing the out-of-body experience and studying, I got to a section in the training, and it says, we're going to teach you about food. So and I've said this before, so I thought I'm going to learn about how to eat my vegetables and all this stuff. No, it started talking about closing the eyes. So today I was at the park. After I finished walking about a mile, I ended up sitting at the bench, and I, put my hands out, and I turned to the sun, and I started visualizing feeding off that solar energy in my hands in the way I was taught. And man, I felt great. And you can feel it. Your hands will tingle. And this stuff is real. Okay, so let me just continue down that road. So if we think about the Monarch programming comes to the reptilian agenda, are these handlers human, or they're something else? That'll be one of our major questions. Man, I thought I brought my water in here. Anyway, that's cool. I ain't going nowhere with that, but so when you think about the reptilian agenda, now we touch on the other part of this thing. Why are the bloodline so important? Let me look at the chat here. Roderick, the guy you're talking about, goes by 607 UNC. Ooh, okay. Yeah, politics for real was involved. Yeah, 13 leaders for each city. Yeah, the number 13 is something that's totally off the chart. But why do bloodlines are important for mind control? Well, when we, as a UFO investigator and certified UFO investigator and ufologist, there was a lot of stories that people were talking about. And at first, they began with family abductions. And at first we just thought, okay, this may be just an anomaly. But when you start listening that, hey, my grandparents saw this, my great grandparents and my mom, and now me, and now my children are having this. Now I realized at that time, and I even more confirmed now, that it had something to do with DNA. The reason they was coming to get that family lineage because there was something in the DNA that was being passed down that when they needed that subject, they continued down the generations to do this. And it makes sense. So if you go back to the 13 bloodlines, the original bloodlines that rules everything today, and then we're not talking about the United States, they're global. And why they spend so much time to keep those genetics going, because it's something about the bloodline that they feel. Now, we do know in the DNA genetically that you can pass down a smart trait or a dumb trait to your children. And one of them can take the trait of you being a genius, another can take the trait or whatever. So all these things are passed down. And so when they start figuring this out, especially in the main 13 bloodlines, the Illuminati, which goes all the way back to Luciferian church and all this stuff, and not satanic. So there's a difference between satanic worshiping and the Lucifer church. So these, even though I'm not agreeing with either one, but they're not satanic worshipers. They're worshiping. Anyway, that's just another part. So when you're talking about these 13 bloodlines, there's just something totally different. So we can also go all the way back to ancient gods, to the modern rulers. We discussed that before, and where the serpents and all of this stuff, or the Anu, which is the Anunnaki. Then you're talking about the Nephilims, who were a branch from the Anunnaki, who violated their protocol by thinking that the women of men were beautiful and gorgeous, and not thinking, but you all are, and began to make hybrid children. And then this hybrid children then came back. And again, they were not creators and gods, because in order for them to become that and create those giants and all that, man had to already been here, or some form of man. And so the jury is out on that when it comes down to this stuff. But again, it makes some great, interesting stories. So once again, we still want to focus right now on the monarch butterflies and duality symbols, because again, it's the symbolizer. That's something that I wanted you to focus on. We even talk about the A altar, which is, again, it's the triple goddess. I've done a video on that, the triple moon, which most of us looking at in alchemy or symbolism, but it actually has a deeper meaning when it comes down to the mind control. Okay. And they don't want you to figure that out. The triple moon, or the moon goddess symbol, was always involved with three principles, which would be young, middle, and old. All right. So doing that process for you to learn that, that there's a lot of things you do in your youth. There's a lot of things that you do in your mid-age, and there's a lot of things you do when you get older. Oh, I can take you back to a little Christianity and say, when I was a child, I think as a child, and when I became a man, I put away childish things. Well, that is just saying that when you got older, supposedly you got wiser. But, and I say but, conjunction, junction, what's your function? They realize, how do we block that from people? Well, simply, easily done with mind control. How many of you right now don't want to get old? How many of you get mad when somebody tell you you 50 or you 45 or you old today? People literally get pissed off to the highest of festivity because you told them they were old. And all the ancient times, all the information, all the access knows, when you get into the wisdom years is when things come together. It's where we can go back. The ancestors were telling younger people how to evolve. But if you block that out of culture where they don't want to get old, they want to take all these anti-aging stuff. They dye in their hair. There's a lot of stuff because they don't want you to know that the wisdom is in the age, is where it is. It has no choice. It's experience, right? You can't make it. It's natural law. But by blocking you from that, getting you focused on not getting old, not looking in the mirror, and even women today, or well, I can't say it's changing because there are some women on social media saying, oh, they rather get with an older man because they see something totally different. Well, it's the wisdom. It's or women or different people, because once we learn those life lessons, and then there are some people like, oh man, I don't want to, he 50, you're 55, I'm 48 or 40, I'm still young. I got some friends right now that will slap you in the face when they had their 41st or 44th birthday, and you say, oh, you getting old. Don't be telling me that. Don't be telling me that. Embrace that. But they're mind control. That is simple. I know it because I've been around it. That is simple mind control that they got you thinking getting old is bad, when every culture, every ancient civilization, every person of wisdom, every person knows at the older age is where we activate wisdom due to experiences, through to all of this stuff, to then look at life totally different. And if you have an opportunity to take that wisdom and apply it into a younger person, which some of them had, and you'll know this because the symbol that they say is he has an old spirit. That means that person has been talked to by somebody with wisdom at a young age and is done transferred into them. And then when you meet them too at your age, man, you just, no, they have wisdom been implied to them like it's supposed to. I'm not saying that if you hadn't, something wrong with you. But usually when you meet these young kids that have older spirit, that's because that wisdom came from somewhere. Okay, I'm just talking. Maybe I'm just saying it. But anyway, other than that, I'm definitely in my wise woman phase. Think about it, right? There are just things you just don't do because you realize I'm not going to do that. So just think about that when it comes down to all of this, and know that it's part of mind control programming. So think about when you want to go back to reptilian symbolism, you can go into political insignias, corporate logos. Oh my God, how many conversations have we had with that already? And again, the entertainment industry, we can deal with a cult. Now, for most of you, when we talk about a cult, you look at it bad, but a cult really just meaning secret or unknown information, esoteric. I'm probably becoming an occultist, somebody who is studying that information, who goes a little more deeper into that, especially when I took on the persona of saying I'm the symbolizer, and I want to go deeper into the hidden messages in modern and ancient messages that is in plain sight, which led me to numerology, which led me to gematria. And we only, oh my God, I touched on that a little bit. So these are conversations we can have. There are some books called Numbers and Letters. I'm going to put that in it's the ebook that I have, because they redid the book and put it on Amazon, different place. They broke it up in 3 little parts, and it's probably 400 pages by the time you get all 3. But I got the original 800 page, which means they deliberately took stuff out. I'm going to put that up in the access of the area. You got to read it. It will tell you what's happening today. It'll tell you about the symbolism of what's going on. In fact, if you think I'm kidding, I'll go right into, yeah, you're right. Once you see, you can't unsee a Doctor Strange, and you can't go back. We're there. But think about 9/11 just for a second. And every given day, that building had 30,000 people in that building every day. It was known. That's why everybody was in so much turmoil when those buildings went down. Do you think there was no system in place when only 3, and God forbid, I'm sorry for that, for families, if you got any loved ones in that, but there was only 3,000 or 5,000 people that was in that building. Do you not know that the other 25,000 knew about it? You damn right they did. Do you not know that most people in that building was part of some elite stuff because they're in the higher echelon when it comes down? You think they did not know it was planned and somebody told them do not go into the building that day? Do you think it went around as a rumor and it's right here in plain sight, right? Come on, please think about it. 25, that means now from dissociation, then some people wasn't just think about it, go look it up for yourself. That is something that they all knew. They couldn't believe it. That's why they was on the news. Oh, 30,000 and thousands. When they found out it was only a few thousand, no one could answer the question, how did that happen? And on every given date of the calendar, every day, there was 30 to 40,000 people in that building every day, except for that day, 25,000 people didn't show up to work. They all called in. Do you think they didn't know? Yeah. All right, please. All right, so why did I bring that up? I have no clue. I should have just left it off the box, put it to the side, right? Because I'm still talking about symbolism and triggers in the Monarch programming or the butterfly imagery, you know, all of this stuff and why the butterfly. Then I try to explain that to you pretty much. So let me put this up on the phone. Yeah, hang on. Let's see. Oh, okay. Y'all talking about something else. Okay, a tic-tac. All right, so the other part about that, somebody said more Truth Monday. I'm with you. Okay. All right. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. So when you start thinking about why Monarch butterfly, and I told you before, because it's a chosen butterfly, it's chosen as a symbol due to the caterpillar that metamorphoses to the butterfly, right? It changed from a caterpillar to a butterfly. But again, when scientists figured out that this thing had a genetic DNA, then this alerted the Illuminatis and said, wait a minute, let's start picking people. This is why certain children, or they want certain bloodlines and their rituals and all of this stuff, because they're trying to capture and get this stuff. And we've seen it through vampirism, through the movies. What was one of the techniques that the vampire had that they knew and used? And it was almost like you want to be a vampire. And when they bit somebody, they bit them to get their memories, to get the and remember the whole ritual was that when the new vampires took over, or whatever they call them, that they passed the blood down to the other ones so that they can remember what was going on generations before, until Celine, which is one of my favorite in the movie, Lycans or whatever, broke the pattern and woke up. What's his name? She woke him up. But remember, that was one of the keys that they were doing when it came down to it. But anyway, mirroring this transformation from the butterfly, they undergo through trauma-based programming. Now, once again, I'll say this real quickly, that those butterflies would migrate across generations, much like multi-generation aspect of mind control. And so within elite bloodlines and stuff. And then they start talking about the brain had a neural pathways that are altered in the Monarch programming, just as the butterfly's DNA remembered its migration path through the generational changes, so they can do trauma through the bloodline. In fact, these dudes were so good at the trauma base. I'm just going to hint this, and we need to have this in our private area, is that they will inflict trauma on an unborn person by poking inside with pins, and the unborn, it felt it, it knew, and it was being traumatized even then. These people will do this stuff, okay? And it's only because through that programming, they can program them on up. And now, why would they choose those particular children? Well, they knew the parents' DNA through the Monarch type of DNA, that if the mama was could be a mind control slave, most likely they will pass down the DNA to those children. And if you remember when Brother Joseph, as I was here a couple of weeks ago, and we was talking about things that was happening to women and different things by, these men. And he was like, most likely the kids are going to do it or go through it because it is in the DNA at sometimes. Okay. So don't take it personal on that, but we're just talking about things like that. And again, you remember Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Katy Perry, they all been photographed with the monarch butterflies. Go look it up. That's their way of talking about the monarch programming. Now, they don't even know it in most cases. They just know that they got a fund for the butterfly, or this is something that they like, or whatever. In most cases, they have no clue that they're being programmed or been programmed or have been programmed or some point. But at the end of the day, it is happening there. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's share this videos and all of this stuff as we go down this. And we can talk about the editorials. So I want you to start looking this stuff up, celebrities. In fact, that is going to be our audience thing tonight. I want everybody to start looking for the butterfly symbols in real world, whether you see it in, celebrities, all of this stuff, and then begin the process of sending me those pictures to everything else from there, pretty much. I was hoping at some point that someone found value in the show tonight, and you want to, just, show some love or whatever, but, I'm going to keep going. I'll come at you. I'll keep going and think about it. And y'all give my boy Ghost Clothes for supporting my birthday wishes. I appreciate it. So that's much love. I can't tell you that's much love. But that's fine. I'll get to y'all tonight. I'll show some, I'll get to you one way or the other. Anyway, if you want to think about movies, again, that has dissociation, psychological control, we'll start talking about some of those. In the end, go look at all these influences with those tattoos and all those things. And when you start hearing some of these people talking about Illuminati just because they're a rapper, they lying. Some of these people lying. They're not just bringing everybody in the Illuminati like that, okay? Just because we think they're a rapper, some of them think it's cool, and they'll put those symbols, and they're being laughed at like, that dude is not part of the Illuminati, okay? And if you think about a lot of this stuff, because now, all right, let me back up. It is possible, because they do have two versions of the mind control within the Illuminati. They got the insiders, and then they have those, whatever, the familiars that they call them in the vampire world. They have those people out there that wannabes, okay? And then they tell them whatever, blah, blah, blah. Because I remember there was time I used to get emails, or not a lot, but every now and then an email about you being inducted into the Illuminati. We want you to come to this meeting and all that. I'm like, what the hell? Y'all don't know me. I ain't coming. You don't know me, and then they stopped. But for a while, we're getting them. And I wouldn't be surprised the next email was to pay a fee, $500. And you know how many people probably paid it? They probably did. I don't know. But anyway, the monarch butterfly appears in children's programming, cartoon. And if you remember the movie Conspiracy, or I don't know if it was Conspiracy, but it was Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson played in it. And he was triggered every time he saw the book Catchers in a Rye, but it was a mind control program. And they could never figure it out. But every time he saw the book, that was the code word, how they would leave messages or whatever. But he started figuring it out. So yeah, conspiracy theory. Yeah, that was a great movie when it came down to that. So those are things that you were looking at. Now, when you think about conditioning in publics, just think about, where do you see these? Again, the butterfly. So look for that, the artwork, hidden messages in media. And I want all of you to be vigilant and start sending those things, okay? Start sending those out so that we can understand what we're looking at when it comes down to those things, and we can do it. So that's the show for tonight. I just wanted to touch on it. If you enjoyed the show, give me some props. Let me know. I can start doing a little more and giving you a lot more information. I just felt compelled for us to get out here and share this stuff with you. once again, Wednesday. Oh, I got something I want to show. Here's something I'm working on. I'm starting another YouTube channel. Okay. I'm starting a second channel. I'm going to play a little 30-second clip of what I'm going to be talking in the second channel. And I want you to tell me how I'm doing. I want you to tell me how I'm doing in the chat. Here's the clip for the new channel. TheSecrets.tv y obtienes tu acceso. Ya hay un par de videos de Jordan Maxwell disponibles ahora y estaré subiendo algunos cada semana de ahora en adelante. Cosas que hallarás en ningún otro lugar. No vas a encontrar cosas, están fuera de circulación, pero no solo él. Habrá muchas cosas esotéricas sobre el 11 de septiembre, cosas que quitaron de las noticias, la verdad. Habrá solo audio, cosas diferentes que van a estar ahí, que creo que son un viaje. Y la razón por la que hice esto es porque hay muchos de ustedes que apoyan este programa financieramente. Me gusta hacer lo que llamo reciprocidad y también crear una vía donde la gente pueda obtener información, incluso. So what y'all think? So I'm starting a Spanish channel. So what do y'all think? Pretty good? Pretty cool? I don't know, man. That damn AI is the shit, okay? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm starting a Spanish channel, and I'm going to put everything up and the same stuff that we doing here, like this show will be in Spanish. That AI is no joke. Real quickly, I did a rebrand, and the rebrand is all about truth. So I just want to get your opinion on, well, it's added to our other brand. This is the truth versus authority. Of course, you know, I'm always fun with the owl. And so just tell me what you think about that. Here's one of the hats there with our, that owl has a name. I'll reveal his name for you. And then these are all new things that we created that we'll put into our branding. I think it'll be a little subtle for some of y'all who can't get along with the symbol stuff, but at the same time, it'll help you. So what do y'all think about that? This is our truth brand here and everything and pretty much in the sun, in the eyes of all of that stuff. So give me your thoughts about that. Someone said, I like it pretty much. Yeah. So anyway, okay. Yeah. So someone said they like it, you know, the truth image. Cool. I'm glad you like it. So it'll be going ready in about a few weeks. Next week, I'll put it up on the site, or I'll do a couple of things. And that'll be kind of our brand, especially for Dallas people. All of you will get one of those when we meet. So, and then when we out, we'll be wearing that in our excursions, all of that. And don't forget Wednesday, Michael Carter will be here Wednesday. And so I want you to make sure that you know, and he's going to be talking about reptilian experience. Okay. So everybody in here future will be talking about some reptilian stuff. So he will be here, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So make sure y'all come to hear his reptilian experience, Reverend Michael Carter. So he'll be here as well. All right. So with that being said, I want to tell you that, again, I love each and every one of you. And so we will, you know, get on out of here, as I should say, and pretty much. So I'll see you Tuesday. Share the video. And again, you know, post your comment. Moderators, start looking at the videos after we go down so that you can see some of the comments afterwards and kind of, you know, y'all can answer some of these people questions and things that I can't get to, so we can pick up the engagement on the comments. Some of them I do answer. And if you see some stuff that don't need to be there, you can still remove that or whatever. And pretty much from there. I love each and every one of you, especially everybody who is supporting the birthday, you know, 55. The link, like I said, is in the description and everything else. All right, guys, I'll see you Wednesday. And let's do what we got to do. Good night.
peace and harmony. I think we're being set up for something very serious and very big by some very powerful secret societies that very well could have extraterrestrial or otherworld intelligence guiding it. I am very fearful for the world we live in because we bought it hook, line, and sinker, and all over the world we have accepted the authority as truth rather than truth as the authority. It is going to require intellect, knowledge, study, and making a stand for the first time not to accept the things which your government gives you, which your religions give you, and which the authorities give you. Because as far as I'm concerned, I have a very big problem with anyone called an authority, because they're always...